Welcome, everyone. I'd like to bring this meeting to order of the Parks and Recreation Committee for Thursday, September 21st. I am Chair Mike Daisy. A few things. One, please make sure your cell phones are off or muted. Our sessions are recorded, so be aware that what you say will be there forever. And microphones are in the ceiling and they will pick you up whispering once in a while. It'll just connect to one voice, and so be aware. I'd ask anyone with any culinary interest to please declare it at the appropriate time. We have a bunch of delegations tonight. So we'll roll right into it. I'd like to welcome the all associations here as well to give us a rundown on their season. First delegation we have is Anita's Coffee for a proposal for winter residency. Ladies, you have the floor.
Good evening, and thank you for the privilege of speaking. For those who don't know me, I'm Eliza Prodnick, and this is my mom, Anita, and we are the owners of Anita Coffee. Tonight, I am presenting the results of our petition for occupancy of the Plympton Park Recreation Hall, here and called Rec Hall, and speaking on our vision for the space in hopes that you will agree to open it for community use. In the spring of 2023, Anita Coffee was granted an operating license for Plympton Park on a trial basis that began in May and terminates October 31st. Our mission for this trial was simple: to bring the community together over great coffee. We are now excited to present the results of our first season. In 3 months, we delivered on all the promises made in our initial presentation. We're profitable and had a hand in stimulating our local economy by partnering with local businesses. For instance, we commissioned the artist Emily Carlson to design our merchandise, which we printed by Vinyl and SAS. We also engaged in a short-term partnership with Rosa Barnes from Bay Salameti to provide vegan treats to our customers. We became friends with other small business owners and learned about their successes and their struggles. We gained a loyal group of regulars and became a popular tourist stop for people renting apartments, visiting families, or traveling in specifically to see us. We saw additional success on Instagram, growing from 200 to 1,500 followers. Lastly, we united the community by providing a meeting space for clubs, students, families, and friends. While the success of this trial has been unprecedented, the real reward has been witnessing the community adopt Anita Coffee as their own, donating turf when they noticed the grass muddying and constructing a security box. We are part of people's weekly routine and community orientation, as evidenced by realtors tagging us in listings, with many concerned about whether we have been successful and expressing their distress at our impending closure. These people aren't just customers. Many have become genuine friends who encouraged us to petition the city, and we have done just that. In 2 weeks, we amassed 719 signatures from individuals who support our bid for winter residency and for turning the Rec Hall into a community meeting space and market opportunity. Jenna Lorbensky, who left this comment on our online petition, summed up our results best. This petition is important for Anita Coffee, a brand new business that set up shop in a location that might not have worked, but it did, and it brought the community together. I want to support this cause because I want Anita Coffee to continue operation and because I appreciate their advocacy for other local vendors as they further expand our community togetherness. It seems the verdict is in. We are not a seasonal community. And it is these closures like ours in the Brights Grove market that hurt individuals and established year-round businesses such as Skeeters and Lake Life. In fact, seasonal closures are proven to affect the health of communities, impacting mental health, population retention, safety. For example, a lack of commercial space is linked with decreased property value, trash accumulation, pests, and fire risk. And particularly along commercial corridors, restricted options reduce foot traffic and sales for remaining businesses, contributing to more closures. Our petition is an attempt to mitigate these risks and grow our community in a way that orientates itself around the small businesses already present here. This bid includes 3 objectives. 1, secure tenure for Anita Coffee at Lamrecton Park. 2, to open the rec hall to the public. And 3, to create an indoor market space. First, we are asking for a 5-year tenure at Lamrecton Park for $6,000 a year. In return, the proprietor, Anita Prodnick, in conjunction with the Community Advisory Committee, whose names and contact information is available upon request, will manage the market and facilitate rental fees with the town. As a part of this agreement, we request continued use of the 50-amp power outlet and picnic tables, occupation of the rec hall, and winter snow and garbage removal. Second, we are asking you to open the rec hall. Picture this. It's a warm day in late fall, and you arrive at Lamrecton Park. Outside, people are lounging in our blue Adirondack chairs, warming themselves over coffee and our propane fire pit. You walk through the garage door where you're met with the smell of fresh coffee and people chatting. String lights in the rafters cast a yellow glow over picnic tables where customers are seated, studying or having their weekly book club meeting. A notice on a bulletin board says that there's early morning yoga for Sunday. You put your name down while you wait for Anita to brew your Americano. It is a great day to live in Kamlaki. The rec hall only requires a few renovations to make this reality possible, including a heating system, cleaning, and as a long-term goal, water access. The cost of repairs of opening the rec hall would be remitted over time through rent paid by Anita Coffee and market vendors. 3, opening the rec hall for a variety of community uses, including rental space for fitness classes or other events and a small weekly market. Saying yes to the rec hall solves a variety of community issues. It creates an affordable venue for small business owners to solicit business in the face of high rent and a lack of affordable commercial opportunity. It supports small businesses through the winter months, provides an indoor meeting space for the community and tourist opportunities, and encourages people to invest in the community and incentivizes others to buy into the new housing development. What's more, this model is a proven success, as I will illustrate using 3 examples. The Dundas Driving Park in Hamilton puts on various festivals and events throughout the year. They have pavilions and sporting facilities for rent, an outdoor theater that hosts concerts and plays, as well as a rink that is used for skating in the winter and as a water park in the summer. The park, which is lined with houses, is a perfect example of a successful community park that operates with the mentality of creating a space by and for the people of Dundas. Wickham Way in Limerick, Ireland, is a warehouse that was converted into market with several food trucks parked inside. They host art shows, vendor events, and use the attic space for drop-in classes. The space in Wickham Way is available for rent for anyone in the public at affordable rates. It is about the people, not the profits. Lastly, the Minette Marina in Muskoka addressed their issue of affordable commercial space with pop-up shops that operate out of storage containers. In the heart of cottage country, they boast a variety of businesses, including a Lululemon, Roots, a mini spa, and the popular Abby's Bakehouse that runs out of a converted church. These examples could be our community. Kamlaki hasn't always been cottage country, as evidenced by the photos on the slide depicting the old corner store, railway station, and hotel. Kamlaki was once a thriving town filled with forward-thinking pioneers. It is the site of the first surveyed road in southern Ontario, Egremont, and was a participant in moving newly discovered oil from Petrolia via rail. As recent as the year 2000, Egremont also had a corner store steps away from Anita Coffee's current home. Business has historically thrived here, and it can again. Help us revive Kamlaki's entrepreneurial spirit. Now I appeal to you, the councillors of the town of Plympton-Wyoming, and the legacy you will leave behind. How do you want the community that you serve to remember you? The way I see it, we have very few opportunities in life to make real change, and I'm telling you that tonight is one of your opportunities. When Lamrecton Park operated as a camp from 1925 to 2015, the rec hall was a meeting place. There, campers reminisced about the day's fun with old and new friends. In the case of one woman who stopped by for coffee, it was where her late husband asked her to go steady. Our customers have shared their stories of being campers, trusting us with their happiest childhood memories and delight in seeing the camp take on new life. Anita Coffee is determined to see Lamrecton Park continue creating core memories in the lives of the community. It would be an honor to the donors, the campers, and Kanlaki if the rec hall reopened for public use as intended. Together, we can make this our legacy. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Great, thank you. Questions?
There we go. Thank you for your presentation. And of course, first, congratulations on a successful summer.
Thank you.
I've had my fair share of coffees there as well with my wife. It's certainly a good spot and has been a great place this summer. And the presentation was clearly a lot of time put into it, so thank you for that. Part of my job as a counselor is say yes to as much as we can, and of course, look at the tough realities and challenges and how can we overcome those.
Yeah.
So just listening to that presentation and looking through it, I think number 2 and 3 on your presentation, I think are beautifully written, and your vision for that building is certainly something that's aspirational. My first question for that building, because I know there's been some rumblings that it's sitting empty or unused, but if I can just check with Mr. Sabansky, I do think it's used for public works.
So I'm just, thank you, through the chair, if I may. In the summertime, we store two of our lawnmowers there, as well as some equipment. And in the wintertime, we store any of the movable benches that are along the street fronts, any of the planters that are along the street fronts, as well as the snowplow for the sidewalks in the area of Arrow Village and Kanlaki, as well as a bin that stores salt for that equipment.
And the only reason I asked that too, just for your sake, is because I know that if we want to do something with that building, we've got to find spots.
Of course, 100%. Yeah.
And then the other one, while I've got Mr. Spansky, is to be a public space, would there have to be pretty significant capital investments in terms of AODA and lighting, or is it in relatively good shape? I truly don't know what the inside looks like in terms of.
The inside is in reasonable shape for what it is today, but it is a bare stick frame structure. So what I need to do to answer that question fully is have our chief building official inspect the property and determine what would be required to allow it to be used for public use. As a public entity, we are required to operate public properties in a set manner as per provincial legislation. And we would need to have that our chief building official let us know what would be required to do that. And then we'd have to obtain quotes from qualified contractors to determine the cost of renovating that building for specifically public use.
And the only reason I'm asking that too is just because I know November 1st would be perfect. But just a challenge in terms
Of course, and like we know that it's a big ask for such a short time frame. So like, yeah, we've done this presentation with that in mind, knowing full well this could be a let's look at this next year idea. But you always you don't get if you don't ask, right?
Yeah, and I think that the initial thing is just to get the coffee cart inside the rec hall.
Yeah.
And not to do the forward thinking yet.
Right away. Like we're not looking to take point 1, 2, and 3 and start it November 1st. This is obviously a conversation that has to happen in conjunction with everyone here. And what we did today was just present a full vision and the possibilities of how to use this space and how other towns have used similar spaces.
For sure, and I totally think it would be, and that Dundas example actually is something that we'll be looking at on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Pretty similar examples.
It's a beautiful park. I lived in Dundas in Hamilton, that area for 7 years, and it was one of the most beautiful facilities.
And then my last piece, again, which leads to number 1, just trying to make sure we think of everything, is the way as a council and as a municipality, from my understanding, we have to be careful too with following the municipal act in terms of bonusing. So in other words, we can't benefit specific businesses with capital investments. With very limited exceptions, like for example, community improvement plans can be used under very strict guidelines. But when it comes to putting money into a capital investment in terms of renovating this space, if there are commercial aspects to it, and staff might have to look into it further at some point, but I do think we have to be careful as a municipality that we're not bonusing. In other words, if there was this commercial space, it's a fair process through a tender or something like that to determine how they come in, or pop-up markets. It just, when it comes to permanent space or even just seasonal space for the winter, that's what I'm concerned about, and staff can certainly look into that too.
Yeah, and like,
No, we understand that, and the thing is that we know the community wants to offer their services. So even though that wouldn't be possible, you just know that that's the next level of what your community wants in your area, in that area. There's nothing in that area.
Yeah, and there's, and I know the previous council put a lot of money in the land record department for that reason.
Oh, and it's beautiful, and now people are coming,
Yeah,
right?
so those are just the three concerns that I had, as much as I want to say.
They're valid,
Yes.
yes.
But that was just kind of my point for now, but otherwise, like, if you can extend to continue operating in your trailer through November, I don't know what the weather's gonna look like. I'm sure that's something that council can talk about as well.
Okay.
So in regards to some of those measures, so staff are currently working on a bylaw in regards to food trucks. We mentioned that when we approved your trial, that next year we're planning to have that in place so that there would be a tender process similar to what Point Edward or Petrolia does in regards to vendors submitting up proposals with set fees and the locations in the municipality that are identified for food trucks being awarded based on those proposals. If the municipality were to look at renovating the rec hall for public use, a similar process would have to be done. Whether we do the work and then we request tenders to occupy it for a set time period, or whether we submit a request for proposal out to vendors where they share their vision for the property and how that property will be improved over a 5-10 year period. Then at least it's an open process. So no matter what the results of the committee or council, we will be required to have that open process. So we will have to do a little bit more research on how to best approach that process for the town as a whole.
perfect.
Perfect. And I could give you a copy of the Sarnia RFP that I received, just to give you an idea.
We have a copy to sign you.
Okay,
Thank you. We're hoping to actually have that our.
hoping that you don't go that high, because obviously that,
We're cognizant that we don't have the St. Clair River, but we have some ideal locations. So, we're hoping to actually present a draft bylaw to this committee next meeting for your
Perfect.
review and endorsement before it goes to council, which would be in the towards the end of October.
thank you.
That's all I had, and thank you again for all your work this summer. And it's-
Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll go to my left. Start with Mike.
Will you make this presentation to council? You guys referenced council a couple times. Have you talked about this at council, or will you be going to council? Making the same presentation, or is it just come
This is
here?
the
or-
first stop.
Okay.
They came to us beginning of the spring.
Spring.
Yeah, that's good. Are you guys wanting to report back on how we did and
Like finances?
or feedback
I think the presentation covered enough of that for.
Good,
And
okay.
if you do want copies of the petition, I ran out of printer ink, but I was gonna scan these for you. I could always deliver those as well.
It hurts.
Okay. Is that it?
Nettie, you have any questions? Sorry.
Well,
Deputy Mayor.
he's not. I'm glad Alex went first. Oh, sorry, I'm glad. Howard went first, because he said things a lot more eloquently than I would have. You see, great presentation, really. It was really well put together. And it's great that your venture has been a success. If we're gonna transform that building to allow, for public use, it's gonna be an awful lot of money. We already have one building that needs renovation, and we've been waiting for years to get that accomplished, or even make a decision on it. So I've always envisioned that when we renovated Lamrecton Park, that it's a passive park. Therefore, that doesn't mean I'm not open to, suggestions or anything like that, but it's a park, and special occasions are great. Like we across the road, Lake Shore had summer send off, and that's a once a year thing. But to have a continuous commercial endeavor, several commercial endeavors in a passive park, I'm not sure that that flies very well with me. But I'm only one, okay?
Well,
I like you, but I'm.
yeah, if we look at, I think it's called Skagway, that's right in the middle of a park. Where people come together and do classes and woodworking, and I've never heard that it interfered negatively in the community. We have arenas in parks, swimming pools in parks,
Even
and
looking so far as Cantera Park, they have like the train, the animal farm, like there's lots of.
agree.
Drive.
I understand where you're coming from. I really do. I thought I'd give you my opinion, and it's great.
Yeah.
yeah, we respect that.
That doesn't mean it can't change. All right. Done? I mean,
My only comment was basically along the same lines. I'm thinking it's gonna be a lot of money, because we have talked about this building as a council in the past, about doing something with it. And it comes down to making it accessible, insulating, like it's basically a drive shack.
People in the community that wanted to donate their time and money and effort to.
We get into a whole bunch of insurance issues. It has to meet a certain level.
Criteria, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. if
Church
you
to
think
do it
that's-
back in the day, they could get away with a lot of stuff that we can't.
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
Yeah.
understood.
But yeah, great presentation. I enjoyed it, and I think we're gonna hear the other side now.
Hey, thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much. Appreciate it. So now we have up Wendy McCoy and Carol Neal.
Thanks for seeing us tonight. I'm Wendy McCoy and this is Carol Neal. Our husbands are with us and our other neighbor, Pat Bremer.
Fine.
And again, timing was odd on this because we didn't know Anita was gonna be here, so sorry about that. But we're here because we want to ask questions about the park and the changes that are occurring, and how we presented this is as the private nuisance related to the use of our properties. So for us, our properties back up to Lamrecton. So over the last year or so, it's changed a lot, and we've had a lot of people in, and we've had some issues. They've been resolved. Adam's been very helpful with some of those concerns that we've had with the park, so thank you for that. But we want to have a better understanding of when the park was donated, was the intention for it to become commercial property? That's one of our questions. We'd like to know, can vendors set up business without the township notifying us? And anyone around the area, Kamalaki in general. And we understand that there's a lot of people in Kamalaki that might enjoy this. And we do too, to a degree, but I'm not sure that we want to see it year round. And we want to know what are the rules and regulations, like we want to understand what's going to be allowed at that park and how it's going to impact us. Basically, that's.
And I've asked before for the pavilion, which is right behind my backyard. As far as if somebody comes and rents it, what can and what can they not do? We've had PA systems there, we've had generators there, we've had loud music, whatever, right? So it's literally from me to you, to my backyard. So I feel like I don't want to ruin their party, so I'm not spending as much time in my backyard, whatever. But that's my concern is, what do the people that are renting know about what they can do in that pavilion, if it's a free for all?
And yes,
So I can answer through most of those questions to start, if you don't mind, Mr. Chair. So actually last meeting, the committee endorsed a parks management bylaw. It had a lot of restrictions in regards to amplified noise and other noise related items. So there's going to be provisions in there that would allow us to lay fines or ask those individuals who are not following the rules to leave the park. So we're hoping to have that in place very soon. We're just taking some of the comments from our chief building official to make it more enforceable before it goes back to council. So I'm hoping to bring that to council in October. The transfer agreement, to the best of my recollection, because I looked at it about 2 weeks ago, stated that the park must remain in the public domain. So at no point in time can the town of Plympton-Wyoming sever and sell it. It doesn't necessarily speak to the public use of it, but we will definitely do a little bit more research as we do have a proposal in our hands, and we will have to research that transfer order before we can approve anything.
I would think it's not commercial property year round, right? It's seasonal. Presently, and there would be some changes, right? If you went.
Currently, the park operates essentially from mid-March through to mid-November. And it's unmaintained through the winter months and therefore closed unless you want to go snowshoeing, etc. So we are going to review that process as well as that's in the bylaw now. However, if the proposal moves forward, which may be a year or 6 months from now, we would have to amend that bylaw, of course, to accommodate that and of course the noise.
So one of the other things that we've talked to, and we've talked directly with you, Adam, is that along the fence line, you guys did plant some evergreens. The ones behind my house are this big. In order to help us with some of the privacy. And again, this is nothing against the coffee. It just happens the timing was weird. I've gone over and met Anita, but I walk out my backyard and all I see is Anita's coffee. Like I have direct vision, direct line. I take pictures like it's, and in the mornings cars come in, and some of them fast and early because they can get their coffee on the way to work. And I get it. I understand that and I accept that through the summer months. But there's dust and the parking and there's just a lot more traffic and it's in my backyard. All of ours on Franklin. And again, mine just happened, I happen to be right across from this. So again, I don't want to see it not happen in the summer. I don't. But I would like to suggest that you guys look at maybe better soundproofing on our fence line, whether it be a fence or actually plant mature trees so that we have a bit more privacy back. Right now, I don't.
And we did discuss that, and we, this committee, a few meetings ago was of the opinion to allow the trees to mature in. But if we are going to change the use of the park, that is maybe something we should reconsider. So again, if we'll be looking at a conjunction. If it changes from.
That's what we're here for. We're not here to, you know.
I think if we're gonna change the park from its current passive usage, council's gonna have to look at the park as a whole and decide what improvements are gonna be required overall then, right? Because you're moving away from a passive into an active use.
And it's very busy, right? Like the end of summer, like the traffic and the parking on the roads, and that's a lot of difference for us. And yes, some people really don't care, but we're there every day. So it's just maybe impacts us a little bit differently. So if there's consideration to some of this, we'd be grateful.
We're very happy.
If council's gonna consider a active usage, I think they should also consider additional measures to insulate the park and maintain it at a different standard. For instance, right now, we do not put dust control down on the roads because the traffic was typically not that high. As it grows with the popularity of Anita's coffee and the use
And
of
the
park,
beach.
maybe we need to
Beach.
start
That's very popular.
adding dust control on that property.
Okay.
We'll definitely, especially if we're going to be changing the current usage of it, we'll need to review the operations as well.
That's all we have.
Questions, go ahead. Well, we started with you last time. Let Nettie go.
No, I don't have any questions. You've explained what what your issues are. And I think I understand them and.
You said it very well
Yeah,
when you
you
said it
did.
was a passive park.
Yeah.
That's when we moved out there.
That's what we.
It
thought.
wasn't a public park. So I've been out there 23 years. So it wasn't even a public park. It was the church camp. So change has changed and we accept that, but now it's a public park. So I don't know, we have had some issues and nothing to do with you guys. But with, you know, we've had people climb the fence now because more people are going to the park. A lot of it's getting better. The other thing I wanted to mention, the sign about being closed dusk to dawn. The sign's on the bathroom, so people have already drove in. Right, it should probably be the entrance,
Bigger.
bigger. Yeah, like those, yeah, little things.
Little thing.
Part of that bylaw is actually policies for us to for signage, what signs are installed at the parks. So that would also change once the bylaw is improved, likely.
That was actually gonna be one of my things, because I was like, that's very attainable. We can make that change right now. Have that signed. My other one is when someone rents that pavilion right now, are there noise restrictions and amplifier restrictions in the existing contract agreement?
I'll have to review that.
Because that'll be something good to add to.
I don't think so.
Do you remember off the top of your head if there's restrictions in the rental agreement?
Or amplification, no.
I don't-
It'll be something that we should probably look at adding to, especially if there's a set fine associated with it.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Yeah, I think as you rent something, there should be do's and don'ts of what you can and can't do, right?
Bylaw.
I think once the new bylaw is accepted, we'll probably have to go back and update all of our rental agreements to reflect that bylaw.
So another question was, and it was in our notes, is so for us to find out about that information, like tonight, again, and we apologize, because we had no idea you guys were here. So it seems like we're picky, but we not, we're here for other issues.
Yeah.
But what we wanted to know is like, how do we get notified? Do we just have to watch the website? Do we just have to watch the meetings? Like, is everything posted? So that we can see what's going on and who's trying to be, because I don't really want a French fry truck in my backyard. I don't, but know that might come in time, right? So how do we find out about this stuff before it's approved? Perhaps
So there is no notice obligations under the municipal act in regards to how we maintain the park. If we were to change the zoning or something like that, or to build a large structure there, that would probably council would ask us to notify the residents. So for these kind of growing issues, honestly, the best way would be to sign up for our newsletter and our notice system,
okay.
because it will send you a notice anytime there's an agenda that comes out, which means you'll get every parks agenda, every council agenda, and you can scan it. And retroactively, we do have a YouTube page now. So every meeting is recorded. So if you did want to go back and see what was said about certain proposals and certain items, you'd be able to do so through our YouTube page.
The only
Oh, sorry.
comment I hear, everybody wants to live by a park as long as nobody's in it. You get a lot.
Yeah, no, we're not like that. That's not our. It's just,
I grew up on Donaldson.
Yeah.
You know, I was there when it was again, it was an ongoing event every weekend there too, when the camps were. So it's a change, but I
When I
understand.
first went up there, it was the camp and it was fine, but this is public. This is different. This is,
Can be more traffic, that's, we understand that.
and
Nothing will get done in a knee-jerk reaction.
yeah,
But it's-
that's good. That's all we ask.
Thank you.
You want to say something?
Pat, did you want to say something?
I was just wondering about the Kamlaki Community Center that we have already. Can they not have flea markets there and stuff? Like, why not?
And they have bathrooms and
They have bathrooms and everything there. It's commercial, is it not? Like, why put it in a little park and really have a facility?
I know the Optimists do host an occasional Christmas market there and items like that. I don't know if we'd want to have the community center open to a business during the day, though. We do have a number of programs that are ran out by third-party groups out of that facilities and the Optimists as well and others, so it would be hard to allocate that to one sole person due to the fact that we do rent it. If we wanted to rent it out for a weekend for some kind of vendor sale, that is something that it is available to rent out to any third party, so we'd be willing to entertain that.
Any further discussion?
I don't think so.
thank you.
Thank you both. We appreciate it. I'm going to move on to the ball guys. So if you guys want to,
Yeah.
you guys want to bail.
Now's the time.
Have a meeting at 7, so
Thank you very much.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Never been able to go up here before.
Mr. McKenzie.
Thank you, everybody.
Chair recognizes Mr. McKenzie.
Congratulations, Adam, on your new appointment.
Thank you very much.
Kamlaki had a very good year. We have Rob Shortreed, our president. We have Kim Lyons, our secretary. We had a great tournament year. We had 8 booked tournaments this year, which when you look at the tournaments that we have is we just don't bring our local teams in. We have teams from all over the place. Same as Wyoming, we have different teams. Which brings us to our Bathurst situation. we're going back from 2018 now. We've been on to this process. And we've been asking, and we've been told numerous times that, oh yeah, we didn't get this bid, but next year you'll get this bid. And then the next year happens, and then we see bathrooms popping up here and there and everywhere else, but the place where we have, so. On a given day, we have 300-400 people and we have 2 bathrooms. We have 1 handicap. But being women, not many are going into those bathrooms. So we're wondering, I looked at your Parks and Rec plan and it said 2 to 4 years, I believe, that you're gonna look at Kamlaki. Why 2 to 4?
Build it in 2 to 4 years, 2 to 3 years, not looking at.
2 to 3 years. Why are we put back again? And again, and again. So now you guys are looking at Lakeshore, renovating that. The ball, where the ball diamond is, or the beach volleyball, and that is. Why that one when it doesn't get as much use or a quarter of the use compared to what we have? I'm lucky. That was a couple of our questions. We do have some petitions from all our associations that are playing. We have People's 2-pitch, we have co-ed 2-pitch, you know, you got 8. Thank you. We have 8 People's Church, we have 12 co-ed, we have all our minor ball, we have ladies ball. With 2 bathrooms, this is a busy park. No matter what happens, and it just feels like since 2018, when we just look back on our figures, as we've always been saying, we're waiting for another grant, grant. Then we see the Lakeshore Park got their bathrooms, and then Canton over here, Centennial's got their bathroom. Now Canton's going to be getting their bathrooms, and now you're renovating the Lakeshore, and we're going, wait a minute, where are we in the pecking order? So that was our question to Parks and Rec. Where are we at with this situation?
The question was, why can you not use the?
Where are we at with grants? Because we keep every year is the same process as they were looking for a grant and then that doesn't happen.
So we're constantly looking for grants. The reason we went with the Canton Park on the last AODA grant is because the Optimists are actually presenting to council next week, sorry, in regards to a proposal for new infrastructure at the Arnold Mealy Park area.
And understandably, that's great, but where they want to put it is by where the old library is. So how is ball players going to go through way over there? There's no game for minor ball or picnics or anything.
I would suggest if there's a washroom located where the current playground is, it'd be about the same distance from Diamond 3 as the other washrooms would be. So they'd still be central to all the diamonds. But the reason we didn't apply for that grant for that specific use is because if council supports the proposal of the Optimist, it will include AODA washroom facilities in a central area between all those diamonds. So that's why we're waiting to see what came of that proposal before we apply for a grant.
Now, will Kamlaki Athletic be involved and let know what's happening where we're sitting at? Because as you see, we've put a lot of money into those diamonds.
Yeah.
And not just the diamonds, the facility as it is. So we like to be heard and we like to be seen of what is happening with, you know, if they're looking at the bathrooms further over, that does nothing for, might as well go to Kingston's Cove. If you know what I mean, that the distance is just, you know, an AOD bathrooms are great. So are they going to be paved to getting over there? Are we going to be paved from the parking lot? So there's so much dynamics of it moving over there.
I would suggest with whatever, if the proposal moves forward, that given the Kamlaki Athletic Association is the registered users of the diamond areas, and this is in that general vicinity, that you should be consulted through the whole process. There's no way we'd be able to build what they're proposing without consulting with the CAA.
Yeah, perfect. And that's what we're asking for is
A washroom is in our mind for that facility. We recognize that there's a deficiency there. We've been putting money aside, and in this proposed budget, there's actually more money going aside. But we've also been looking for grants because the AODA washrooms to meet the current standards are anywhere between 100 to 200,000, depending on the circumstances. So we've been putting money away, saving up towards purchasing one or building one. And we've been our eyes on grants, but with this proposal coming in, this year was kind of a stop point for a bit until we figured out what was going on with the facility as a whole, before we started applying for grants. If there's an AODA washroom grant available and we figured out what's happening with this proposal, if it's not going forward, then it's on the table to apply for a grant to bring an AODA washroom to RMLA. We recognize there's deficiency. If the one extra portable washroom is not enough, we can add another one. I don't have.
I don't think it's even the fact is women won't use the porta john. I don't know, Eddie, if you get that a lot, but
No, I won't use them.
you know, it's just something.
Rather go in the cornfield.
I wish Mr. Al Little was here because there's questions that pertaining to the bathrooms. I was here myself with Parks and Rec about problems we had in the bathrooms.
Yep.
Lights, yep, they'll get fixed right away because they're $20 LED light. Well, that hasn't been done. We still got a pigtail with the light hanging. And that was since the beginning of the season. We have had broken needle cases that we've been requesting new ones, but they're still there. And before a tournament, you know, we're in charge of changing all the garbages on tournaments. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's us doing all the cleaning and everything else. But when we come to the Diamond for Friday, the first game, and the garbage are full in the bathrooms. Why? So what the town does is they give us a bunch of zip ties and say, here you go, zip tie the garbage bags up when you're done. We're users also. So for us, we're already doing as much as we can, being a volunteer association. It doesn't seem like it's coming back the same way. It just kind of, we're on the last burner on all the time. So the bathroom ones has been going on well, it happened last year. So we're into next year now for a $20 LED light to install. So it was taken down and they told they're going to investigate why it blew. And I'm not going to go buy one, only on principle right now. So if an inspector comes and sees a pigtail light hanging there, there's issues. We've been asking for 1.5 years for a key for the toilet rolls. We haven't got one. So when we run out of toilet paper on a tournament, we have to throw the toilet paper everywhere because we can't get into the toilet thing. So we have asked Al, we have asked John, and it's very frustrating. I don't know if you want us to get a screwdriver and break, but I know where I work, we have keys, and if there's somebody taking care of the bathrooms, that person has a key. But it's a key.
Not top secret.
Leave the key in the stock room, in the clean room.
We greatly appreciate the fact that the CAA has been helping out on the weekends with the garbages and the washroom cleaning. But you should have access to supplies to do that on it.
And so so if they give you, for instance, on a Friday, we come while the toilet paper is out first ball game. Okay, so now we have all weekend with no toilet paper in the toilet paper. So now we have them sticking on the ground. So now then it gets wet, and you can just imagine how our frustration builds on that. And the next one is in the Parks Rec. There was supposed to be a new a door built over on the gazebo where the breaker box is because the birds had been biting it. So unfortunately, the workers decided to, instead of fixing it properly, is they put a bar through it and put a lock on. CAA pays for the hydro, but it's your lock. So now I can't turn the lights on and I can't put the hydro on for any renters or anybody. So why is there a bar on there with municipality's lock? And we're paying for the hydro, so it doesn't kind of, I can take a grinder and get it off, but I don't want to be liable for anything. So we had the Kamalaki Firemen's Association, and I'm glad they didn't need to use the hydro from there when they are going to do the movie night because we can't get hydro in there. We have the breaker in our room where we turn it on to run the hydro, but you can't get to the box because we have a town.
That fixed.
The other ones, Lakeshore Park, we were here at the beginning and they were going to put wood at the back and tutty up. Nothing's been done. So this is bringing from the beginning of last year. Again, we're still, not one thing has been done.
Did they not go there and rebury it though?
Nope. Nothing. Nothing has been done there. So
That kind of stuff, you don't need to wait till the end of the year
We're very frustrated
No.
because we put a lot of time and effort and
I understand.
here we do so many hours and these,
In your shoes.
and we keep asking. Maybe we're not asking the right people. But I'm not sure if you're aware, but the light terms is the sanitation vehicle that comes in front of the canteen and it goes to clean the porta john. Well, it was backing up and hit one of the main beams for our overhang canopy. John was there when it happened. Kim was there when it was happened. We let Al know. Al came out, investigated and said structurally it's fine. There's no problem. So now I've got, you can see through it now. This is a 6x6 wood and I can see through it. So they said they're going to do an investigation on it. And we haven't heard anything and nothing's been done. Now, once the winter comes with rain, water, and it freezes, I think we all know what's going to happen. We'd like to know, this is part of your building also now, since this isn't a fixed part, what is happening with that? Is it being reinforced? Is it being metal rod put through? And this had happened 2 months ago. So in spring, we've been waiting for this. And we have gone to Al, but we have got nowhere there. We asked for red clay at our previous meeting. They said Wyoming and we never got red clay, but I did get a phone call from Al saying he's got a friend that's got some dirt coming out of the Sarnia track. If you want to buy it, it's a good price. No, we are not doing that. So
It's red clay though.
we didn't get any.
No, but.
I remember
what's
talking,
available, yeah.
Yeah, we never got any.
you take all the red clay,
Yeah.
probably.
So what normally happens is, well, normally what happens is we split it all the time. So you have the one truck and we split. Well, we never got it, but I did get a call from Al saying he's got a friend that's, they're tearing up the Sarnia track and it's recycled. It's not, we're not putting any recycled from a track onto our diamonds. I think Brian would probably turn over in his grave if he ever heard that happen.
And I know when we got the load, we were told the load was strictly for us, because I
Yeah.
said where they split it.
That's-
and
Yep.
They said, no, the load was for us, and that's, we took the whole load.
Clean, fresh red clay.
Yeah.
Yeah, from Marco.
From Mark, yeah.
So like, I don't want it now. But this is gonna be, so as you can see, Lucky is very, very frustrated on a lot of things. It brings it to our hydro bills. We got our hydro bills. We sat in here and our hydro bills are, we're getting only $4,300 in hydro. Going back to 20, Al was, when we were sitting here, Adam, we were saying you shouldn't be paying your surcharges in the winter time when we're not in use. We've been paying since 2018. So we've been paying summer, winter, all the way through hydro. So for the last 2 years, we haven't used our grant. So last year, actually, sorry, I'll take that back. Last year, I got donated bleachers for us for Lakeshore. So we put in 2 aluminum bleachers there and you guys put the gravel in. The gravel was apparently $5,000 for a bit of gravel. So I don't know where the trucking company come from, but that was our allocation, was a $5,000 for the piece of gravel.
I'd have to look at the budget to see if that was fully spent. I don't think it was.
So this year we haven't used any $5,000 because of certain things not being done, everything else. So we'd like to apply our hydro bill towards that $5,000. Since rising costs are going up and up.
So the trick with that grant is it's a capital grant. It's for improvements that the associations take on by themselves. Or that we pay for, that you ask us to take over. It's really not intended for operations, so that would, you're here asking the committee, but that'd be reallocation of that proposed budget, so I may even have to.
What about the money that we've been paying since 2018 then for in the winter time?
I have to review.
It's
What if they put a request? to
Shut that
council?
off.
we're paying,
The only way to stop the surcharges would be to like terminate the service. Even if you shut it off, they still bill you
Oh,
for it.
I see.
They're probably gonna charge you for shut it off.
Yeah, off and on, yeah.
Yeah, but I think the association should at least not be paying when they're not.
No,
Not gonna be discussed.
not a lot of ball going on.
so from
You get the same.
January to May of 2023, we're paying $490. So now with a nonprofit ball, which only is the same as us, things are going up, insurances are going up. Ball registrations are going up, but we got to try to keep it capped as small as we can because there's a lot of kids that can't afford it, especially right now. So we're just finding we're being nickel and dimed on everything. We already pay water, we already pay sewage, and now we pay the hydro. Now we've got all these extras. And as a front for Kamalaki, we are very frustrated with the Plympton Township right now of we're doing our best, but we're not seeing anything back. Promises are not being kept. Things have not been kept. So basically the town is cutting the grass for us, which is great, but I think we should be looking at a bit more infrastructure of what is happening. Our Lakeshore Diamond is, I don't know if anybody was at the Summer Sun, it's in rough shape. We got to spend a bit of money on the diamonds because the fence is falling apart. We have a broken tile in the middle of the ball diamond, which we knew about years ago, and we tried to redo it by putting new gravel on it the past 2 years ago, I believe it was. We redid we put all the new gravel and everything else on. But we have a soft spot between first and second now, so it's almost like a sand dune. When you're running through it, all of a sudden you start to sink. So from years ago that we believed it was a tile coming from the farmer's field that was coming through because it used to be all farmland there. But we don't know what we're gonna do because we have no money to go and to dig this up and fix or look at.
You got $5,000 sitting there.
So that is, I think I covered, most on
I think so.
our list.
I would like to suggest. Sure. I'll probably regret this. But like this nitpicky stuff. Call me on it. And then I can make sure he gets on out. Like,
See, we've
obviously it's getting missed somewhere between you and Al and us, because this.
and it's just not myself, it is becoming from other.
Oh, I'm just saying, but
That is,
like, something as simple as a stupid key to the,
and we've asked, and we've asked, and we've asked, and we,
I mean, if you ask me, then I'd make sure you got it.
and something simple like that shouldn't be.
No, to me, it's stupid.
And I'm worried about our pole, because we spent a lot of money putting that overhang on, and it split right through.
Well, and that's their company's responsibility. It's
Well,
not.
that's what we said, and it was the truck that backed into it,
And
but we don't,
Paid them enough.
Al said he was gonna investigate it. He came out and looked at it and he said, it's structurally, it's fine. But it's split. So unfortunately, I don't have the pictures with me. I forgot them at work. But I'd be gladly to show you or come out and have a look at you can see for yourself. It's quite, we're worried about water getting in there, freezing, rain, lifting.
and everything else.
But otherwise than that, we had a real good year. Sorry for taking most of the time, guys.
We're almost full for next
Yeah,
year.
our teams are almost full for next year. We still have so many people trying to come and rent the diamonds, which is great. So hopefully we can find some solution to some of the issues that we have.
And the
Also,
part about inflation and everything else, we're feeling it. You know, we feel your pain as well.
Yeah.
I guess.
also with the agreement with the township, I would like to have my name taken off of that because I'm no longer on the board for Kamlaki and
We forward you,
if you have an update to your persons you want in the agreement, just have the current chair or secretary send an
Okay.
email noting that please change contact information in the agreement from A to B. And we'll be happy to do that. That's a simple amendment that I can carry out in-house.
so we're gonna let you look at the hydro issue.
I have a whole lot of things to review and a lot of direction to be given. So I'm gonna go through this list with a bunch of my staff. And hopefully we'll get it addressed in the very near future.
If
Have to
you're,
make some changes.
if you're wanting that $5,000 to your hydro, I would suggest maybe a letter to council explaining.
Okay.
You know, from 2018, blah, 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 blah. A one-time, is it possible to move that over?
Those lights are,
You're gonna get the money.
those lights are expensive.
Yeah.
Well, but,
Yeah, but council's got to approve it.
right, it's a capital
No, I know.
thing going to so.
And can we just also make sure that before time keeps slipping away, that we're gonna respond to this truck that hit this post so that their insurance company is notified? Or time keeps slipping? Yes, thank you.
Any questions?
Well, thanks for all the affirmative.
You know, we had a good year.
Great.
Wyoming's turn now.
No, we need to hear these things.
Like I say, I did soccer in Petrolia for years. It's a thankless
Very.
BS job.
Parents have been awful this year.
Game on now.
And we had a ball meeting, a girls' ball meeting last night. Matt was with us and everybody's seeing it. The parents are, it's just worst ever.
What do you mean? What did they do?
Oh, everything you can think of.
What, they don't.
Yelling, screaming,
Swearing at
chasing
kids,
umpires.
at umpire. It's awful.
That's nice.
We had a parent barred from four pitch.
Yeah.
Because they were yelling at the volunteer umpire.
We had quite a few parents kicked out of the park.
Yeah.
Won't start the game until they're gone. Sad.
Yeah.
And we're talking like little kids games.
Oh, sleep ball,
Cause they're all gonna
because we're going to the
be on
end.
TV in years.
Well, thank you.
All right, thank you. Helps this is
Oh.
even better, even better.
This has a nice.
I say it nicer apparently. So, Mr. Chair, Mr. Sabansky, I'm Mandy Pearson. I'm the secretary for Wyoming Minor Ball. I'm here with my board partner, Matt Helps, who is our president and our maintenance everything guy. So that's why we're here tonight. It's our 2023 year in review. And we did take some of your items for budget consideration that Adam sent out to us. We have some items. Next year, we'll put it in on the fancy screen. I forgot you guys had the screens. So we only have 7 items. So I don't know how that'll shake through. First one is, and some of may echo, so we apologize for that. Washrooms. If we can get a washroom key, we will sign an agreement, sign a release, be responsible for it. We need to be able to somehow be able to. Sorry, I see your face, the supplies for the supply keys. We need to be able to restock, especially when we have tournaments and double headers and things that are happening. As you know, it's a very busy washroom and the public use it a lot as well, especially on weekends. It doesn't matter what time of day, there's walkers, there's everything else in the community and those washrooms are in full use. We recently hosted the 11U OBA tournament here, was very successful. We had to go out and purchase our own supplies in the middle of the tournament because there was no supplies and nobody restocking, obviously, as we know that happens. So thanks to one of our baseball moms, also it helps. We got restocked on supplies and we're able to keep things moving for the tournament. But that's just one example that happens throughout the season. So if we can get access to the supplies or have someone who comes in, you know, and does that, if it needs to be somebody who's on staff, if you need a model of why that should be supported for council to have that staff running, we can definitely show you the model during the season, why having regular staff visits to the ball diamonds would be beneficial and keeping that going. So we're open for how we can resolve that, but just kind of need to get some resolve, either us doing it ourselves or through staff. So that can be an item.
So in regards to the key, both your associations should have key to the supplies. We can't ask you to look after a washroom and not give you the supplies to do that. So if we stay in the current model, you will both be getting keys to those supplies. That just makes sense.
Perfect. That would be great.
And a paper key.
Okay.
Talk it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
on the bottom, the very last one is dad's items, right? Like, all right, so number 2, and it kind of correlates with one of our other items, but we saw the budget and we did see that obviously the $5,000 is allocated for the year. We didn't see where our expenditures were at for the year, what we may have used for capital. So we are hoping that we can maybe get a resolution brought forward for some batter box repair kits. So we need 2 of them, obviously, and they're about $585 a piece. So if we can get some of those funds allocated from our 5,000 for that, we can install those in the fall here, if that's possible.
Yeah, and again, with both associations, if you have some small capital or operational improvement that you want to propose, it's $5,000. It's well within my approval authority, as long as you can prove that the association as a whole is in support of it and that it's for the use of the ballparks. I don't have a problem approving that expense and then either whether we pay for it directly or you guys pay for it and then invoice us for it. Either one is fine.
So rather than resolution, just maybe like, do you want a letter of request from Matt or I?
An email just confirming is
That's
sufficient.
what I was gonna say. Can we just organize it, have it, and then invoice you with it?
I have no objection to that. Depending on the item, if it's something that you might think is questionable.
Well, heads up
Ahead
first.
of time,
Yes, yeah.
whoever is in this role ahead of time. And we can definitely look at it then.
And is there any way throughout the year just to kind of touch base with where we might be at with our $5,000? If there's, we don't want to overspend, right? Is that something possible or?
We'll have to track it ourselves.
Okay,
I don't necessarily get the budget updates quickly,
okay,
so something you'd want to track yourselves. So generally that $5,000, the town doesn't do anything with it. We don't have plans for that $5,000. That is to help you both with the operation and maintenance of the fields above and beyond things that we might necessarily think of. So that money does not get used unless you as two groups ask for it.
so if we manage internally, then we'll know where we sit with that.
And we try to manage it as well on our side too, when we do start allocating those expenses, but that's funds that are dedicated for capital improvements that you as the two user groups see that those parks might need.
Do that, we can spend the money. The request for 2024 budget items, the only thing we have right now is obviously just mound dirt and or mound clay. That's the only thing
He
we,
took his.
well,
No, it's different dirt.
we're tough here in Wyoming, you gotta fend for yourself. So that's the only thing we have right now to bring back for your budget requests, so
I
nothing.
suggest that both associations will be receiving a load of clay in the spring at some point.
I think when you're looking at mound clay, don't you? It's-
Yes, mound clay for us, not just red clay.
Clay and CA will get general use clay,
There's two different clays.
apparently.
There's mound clay.
There's probably 5 or 6 different.
Yeah, you don't want to get into it.
Right, perfect. So that satisfies that. As we mentioned, we had a successful year. We hosted the 11U D Division OBAs, which had lots of outside teams coming into town, which was great exposure for the town. My favorite thing is when either a tractor goes down Main Street and you've got everyone going, there's tractors driving past the ball diamond, and so it was good. We spent a lot of time here as an organization with that tournament, and it was good to see the results and what was happening in town. So as far as our registration numbers, we are again continuing to grow. We had a record-setting year last year. We continue to grow 250 with our little Wranglers. So that's everyone that's under 8U in essence. And so that those numbers continue to grow, which feeds into the program moving up. So we have strong numbers all the way through, and then of course including our seniors teams as well. So there's nothing showing that from diminishing. If we could get more coaches, we could have more teams. That's always a big thing. But yeah, the registration numbers are very strong. We do have a request that just on when we do email things out, if we can, as we're moving forward, we're all volunteers as we kind of talked about, and sometimes it's in the middle of the day or something that happens when we're happening. So we try to get those informations out there, and then it kind of leaves our brains, and then we're sitting around later going, oh shoot, have we heard back? So if we can just make a request that within 7 days, if we can get communication responses back, if that's possible. I know Lana with some finance things, she's just hoping around 7 days because she balances throughout. She literally sits down, does her volunteer, and then something comes up, and it's not till she sits down to do it again that she realizes it still might be outstanding. So
For payments or just correspondence?
just general response, if 7 days is practical to ask for a response time.
I
More than-
try to keep up on my emails unless I miss one, but
As long as I'm not pointing at you.
it's saying in general.
Okay.
I don't think it's unreasonable to expect a response to an email in 7 days.
No, and that's what we didn't think so either, but we thought if we could just kind of put it out there that if that's possible, then that helps when everyone's trying to further the business, as we said, in that volunteer structure. So that would be fantastic. We're marking them off here, left, right, and center. Brian does get to come behind me, but I'm trying to get it all nailed out first. The next one that we move on to is the agreement. So obviously we've circulated that agreement. We have we've redlined it a little bit with just items that are more specific to Wyoming minor ball and things where there was if or, we kind of put what the if is. So if it was monthly or quarterly, we prefer monthly. We want to stay on top of our expenses and not have to worry about having that outstanding expenditure. So just little items like that where instead of an or, we wanted to be able to make it within a definitive amount of time.
With the agreement.
Yeah.
Gone through it.
Perfect.
Most of the comments I didn't have any concerns about.
Okay.
You guys did make a fair bit of changes to the liability section though. So I think that's something we should probably sit down as a group, go over, and then I should probably review with my lawyer too, because they are substantial.
Yes.
So hopefully we can get together in early October, review them as a group. And before I do that, I'll talk to my lawyer to see what the effects that has on it.
We can do that. And the big thing of the liability is we're perfectly satisfied with having the liability on us when we're in use for Wyoming minor ball or items that are related to that, such as two pitch and whatnot. The concern is that we're responsible for liability for the entire duration of the season when there could be activities happening that are outside of our control, but yet it's our liability and our insurance that would be expected to cover that.
There's going to be some grayness when you do, no matter how you cut it, because we're not going to get into too much detail tonight, but I'll give you a general where I'm coming from. So because you have your equipment and your stuff on site, and you do have people that attend the site outside of fall season, you're probably still going to have some liability, but your liability is not in regards to what you're not responsible for. If the town puts a stake in the ground and someone trips and hurts themselves, that is not the ball association's issue. If we're responsible to repair the fence and someone injures themselves from the fence outside of who's not playing baseball, that's not your responsibility. That'll be the town's. You're responsible for things in your power, and the town is responsible for the things in their power. So
What we tried to clean up.
That's just what we want to
were
clean
trying to clean up.
So-
Exactly. And that's honestly, that's
it's
the.
always ambiguously, so we can probably clean up the language a bit. It just I don't think we're gonna be able to say that you're only responsible from this day to that day, because then you can access the in between those days.
But our insurance, like I said, is through OBA minor ball, like OBA Ontario Baseball Association. If we come back and say it's not a baseball related thing that we're trying to
Right.
cover, they're gonna say no as well. So that's where.
And then we're not gonna
meet.
whoever injured themselves is gonna leave the associations alone, and they're gonna come for the deeper insurance pockets.
At the same, as we know, it's litigious and we do get named in that third party, and the first thing they're gonna ask for if we ever get to a court settlement is show me the agreement. And if that agreement has any area of indication that minor ball is responsible, then obviously we're gonna have to come to the table at the time of settlement or claim, right? So.
I'll sit down and review the comments from the lawyer. I've been meaning to do that. Once I've got his comments back, I will sit down as a group and kind of discuss it. And any of the changes I make that are above and beyond the Wyoming ball one, when we amend your agreement, we'll adjust them. So there's.
No worries. That's all we can ask for. That was just our moving forward, and I've been away. I got your email today. So I will,
7 days ago.
I know that was almost 7 days ago, right? Listen, someone can verify that I've been out of the office. So yeah, if we can, we'll set us some dates and we'll happily take some time and come here to the office or wherever and tackle that out. So that will.
I'll get it back from my lawyer first and then see if they have any concerns with adjusting it, and then we'll go from there.
Perfect. Yep, no, that was our key item, was just we see more and more of that, right? Unfortunately, that's the first response is who's gonna pay for my cut finger. All right. Very appreciated Canton Park excitement for capital. So we know that's been working towards it. And 2 items on it. We just, if at all possible, the aesthetics matching is something that's very passionate from the Ball Association, from everyone we talk to keep that look of Canton. It's not there just for us for the next 5 years. Obviously, that's going to be there for 25, 30, up to 50 years. There's a lot of pride in Canton Park. It looks good. People come, they speak about it. It speaks well for the town and for the organization. So if we are able to construct it with some aesthetics to complement and offset that, similar to what we had on our site meeting, that would be greatly appreciated. And to help with that, we know that there's always a cost factor. So one of our questions are, is there anything with the grant that would prevent us from looking for additional funds through, say, the Alex Foundation or something as the board applying to help supplement some of the other items of that build.
No, there's not.
So we will,
Alex Foundation would become more challenging because they're less about sponsoring infrastructure.
Yeah.
And more about sponsoring programming.
okay,
But there is opportunities that if like the Wyoming Association or other associations, that if you wanted to tailor an aspect above and beyond our standards and you're able or willing to raise or find funds for that, it's definitely something we can work on together.
perfect. No, we just, before we looked too far into funding opportunities, we just wanted to know if that would reflect the grant or invalidate it. So perfect. And then on that component, the minor variance, is it required? And if so, do you want us to apply for it, or what makes your life easy?
We haven't got that far yet.
Okay.
I haven't got approval for the grant yet, so haven't been too worried about laying out the location of the washroom and applying or discussing it with their planners.
If it is on us, just give us a shout and we will put together the application if it's easier to be a board application rather than a.
For the washroom, since it's the town taking on the project on town property, I would suggest it would be a town process.
That's even better.
If in the future you're building a storage building or something else that you're doing with our permission, but it's an association project, then we'd have to maybe look at that process, but washroom, it's a town capital project.
That's even better. Perfect. That is all of the 7 items in under 6 minutes. Perfect. Did you have any questions for us about the year or?
Alex?
No, that was good. Yeah, I'm just happy they're successful and they're both groups are still.
And for both associations, we've heard loud and clear about the utility bills. We're gonna sit down, tidy that up, get it onto a monthly schedule. When we first did our initial review a few months ago, we noticed that it was a bit of inconsistent. So it will take, for next year, it will be tidied up and consistent. But we'll just need a little bit of time to get there, so.
Brian, I got Lions at 7, so.
I'm trying to make it sweet. Right in 5 minutes. Just a couple of things. There's a light standard at Canton and left field. They're starting to throw the breaker and tripping out during the practices. I think we've had issues with lights before, and it's usually the starter switch, I think, in the building that's the problem. So I'll have to be an electrician or whatever, look at that. I'm going to put locks on all the gates and everything at the parks again. I think I started maybe before you were here, Adam, but last winter they did get cut. And the dog people did go out on the diamond. And this summer it has been a big issue with the wet weather we've had with dogs on the diamond. I don't know what can be done, or
We already have signs out there.
there's signs, but that doesn't stop them. And when they're starting to cut the locks in the winter time, I don't know what they're supposed to. But this summer has been a big hassle with, extra work with me having to rake all the divots and everything out because they walk on the infield when it's wet, so. And I was just wondering if there's extra signing or what.
The yellow tape.
As you've noted with the parents, we're also having a problem with people in general, whether it's vandalism or disrespect of,
Yeah, I know. I mean, there's still vandalism with the washrooms too. That's another issue, and
we are just not to take you too far off track, but I know that's a source point for both the town and the association is, we're in the process of bringing forth a surveillance bylaw. That way we give ourselves the proper authority to put the surveillance on that facility. And we are going to put a surveillance camera on that facility, hopefully in the near future. And you have keys for that facility, so if it's locked, you can open up. The only caveat I ask is if you're opening it up, make sure it's locked back up afterwards. Not that it makes a difference because they're just kicking the doors down anyways, but.
And I mean, the vandalism wasn't bad this summer. It was bad in the spring, but now it's starting to start up again since schools went back, so. There's this issue over there today that John spent half the day there, so.
Yeah, it was a challenge over there today, unfortunately, so.
That's, if I'll go ahead and put the locks on then, like at the end of October again,
And that's great, just in case they need to go and cut grass, so if you're doing that, you make sure that
The town has a key.
Copy.
The town has a key to the locks, because John got the, or wasn't John, I guess it was Joe that got me the locks there a number of years ago. And
Excellent.
they kept a key, and so they do have keys.
Okay. So as long as they have keys, yeah, that's great.
And, I like, personally, I don't know what. If they're there, I can ask them to leave, but I don't know what more I can, am I allowed to do more? You know, escort them off.
Does the township have a bylaw officer?
Yes. You need a bylaw to enforce it. So I'll have to double check. The parks, again, I'm reviewing the Parks and Recreation Management bylaw after some comments from our chief building official. I will double check in there to make sure there's set fines for, you know, allowing dogs off leash in unapproved areas, et cetera, or using closed, actually, there is one for using closed park, so we can use that. So I'll double check to make sure that the bylaw is strong enough to address that concern.
And one other quick little thing, and it kind of goes back to what Todd is. It seems that we can speak here and you guys can say, yeah, you'll do it, but it never gets passed down to the field. I don't know if you've noticed that, and I hate to, I hate to bring names up when the person that I was hoping was here was out, like. We asked in the spring to put a flag up at Canton Park. It never got done. I put it up the Canada Day weekend. And there's other little things that I asked, and I say to the workers, and well, they don't know anything about it, so.
Would it help if we put a shared doc through Google or something, just as we have little things that come up that would correlate to you and you can kind of see them and have them? Because Matt and I use that for just our regular kind of like, don't forget things, so.
Yes, because it doesn't have to be something we have to keep on our hard drive. It can be sent, updated and sent through email. So if you would like to do that, I can forward it on. Copy me on all your concerns, please. Thank you. I'll be moving away from Public Works eventually in the next couple months. For the foreseeable future, just copy me on it. You can copy the chair. I can't tell him otherwise. So he's asked to be copied on that too. So, and we'll try to make sure that it's getting pushed down through and these challenges are getting addressed. So it just recognize there's challenges and we're trying.
But you know, you question the workers and then they say, well, we don't know anything about it. Well, you know, it's been said here, or I said it to.
Well, let's say everything you guys have mentioned, I remember talking about.
Yeah.
That it was none of them are that.
And some of it is just little things. I hate to nitpick, but it's things that, yeah, you're.
No.
We'll see if that's a good communication tool and see if that helps at all to just, as we've got stuff coming up. Then we're not waiting for a board meeting as well, right? So,
And it's great for both associations. Since we have still stuff outstanding. All of us can be on the same board.
I know with other departments, we have a working document that we go through every meeting. So if that's the resolution that we have to do is every month when we have Parks and Recreation meeting, we add not only our Parks and Recreation working document, but the working documents from the ball associations. Or we can just add it to our working documents. So we'll copy and paste off of the Google Doc and drop it into our Parks working document and it becomes part of that.
yeah, whatever works easiest for you, we can be flexible to the format that it's done in.
I think the Google Doc's fine because Jess and I can just cut and paste it into our working doc.
Perfect.
So if you both want to start that, sending it to myself, copy our chair and Jessica too. We'll ensure that it gets into our working document. So that way every meeting we're seeing what's been done, what's outstanding, and we can have staff made aware that that needs to get done sooner rather than later.
Thank you for the time.
Thank you, guys.
Just one quick thing, before we head out, is that at our last meeting, we had asked, for some ground, basically a couple inches of topsoil taken out. We're gonna lay some rubber inlays in there with 4x4s. Al asked me to go and spray paint area because he says he's gonna look for locates. You might as well cancel that project too, so don't have him come over and do it because we're still waiting for him. So I don't want all of a sudden to show up next week because we're not prepared now because we don't have volunteers to put all that in. So I just want to make sure that doesn't get done now at the end of the year.
Just so that doesn't get misunderstood, can you send me a quick email that I can make sure it gets to the right?
He was supposed to be looking at locates because we're just taking the skim off the top. And then we're gonna get a rubber mats down there, picnic tables, so the grass cutters don't have to.
Yeah, the orange paint by the. And we kept saying, what's that for? Well, that's where they want to have something to do with a picnic table or something. And that was in May.
Mhm.
We were there because I remember seeing the
So we
paint.
know our volunteers were all done with volunteers, so we can't see that project until next year. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you. We appreciate you coming.
Hold a second.
We'll get better. All right, we're moving on.
To go through.
Bringing us up to date.
Yeah, we got 10 minutes to go through a budget. You're not getting any of it. All right. 4.1. 4.1, I got a motion by Mike, seconded by Alex, that the regular Parks and Rec Committee minutes from August 24th, 2023 be adopted by the committee. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Update from Al Little. Well, that one's gonna be quick.
I think that's the place we'll want to put the working document in every time in the future.
That's what that was for. I'm just gonna update because I asked him about the task sheet and
We'll just include the task sheet in every agenda.
yeah, well, most of the items on it were like crossed off. There's nothing new, so I didn't know, like, yeah.
We'll be adding some items apparently.
Got a motion from Alex, seconded by Mike Thompson, that the accounts be listed. That the accounts as listed be received by the Wyoming Parks and Rec Committee for August 2023. Any questions on the accounts?
Of course. I think I've asked this before. Why is that Wyoming pool? Bell mobility bill?
Because when we switched from a hardline Bell service and dial-up internet to the Bell Mobility Hub, we were told by our salesperson that the hub acts as a cell phone and therefore you get unlimited talk and text for $5 a month. And then your standard data rates as per our policy apply. They're correct on the second half. Our standard data rates do apply. However, the calling is per use and not unlimited. Therefore, the cost is high. I argued for 2 years with higher levels of persons at Bell to no avail. So we are currently looking for options to better service that
Oh,
location.
Can we not get another program? Another plan? of some
Absolutely.
kind?
So we looked at Cogeco and unfortunately the fiber optic cable stops at Broadway in that area. So it's gonna be about $9,000 to bring a internet connection to that facility. So I think we're gonna have to look at alternative options. I might leave the data connection for the hub in place and I might go with an over-the-counter voice over protocol phone instead of our business voice over protocol phone. Let me rephrase that. I'm going to buy a over-the-counter voice over protocol phone. We're gonna port over the existing number and then it will be $5 a month. Plus our data, which is max of $45 a month.
Well, it sounds a little
Better
bit
than
more
five.
sense. This is ridiculous.
That will be done before. I was trying to get an actual proper internet service in there. But apparently that area is underserviced.
Anyone else got any questions? We had one. Do I have a motion? All those in favor? Great, thank you. Motion by Mike, seconded by Alex, that the report prepared by Adam Spansky, Director of Public Works and CAO dated September 15th, 2023 regarding the draft parks and recreation and Kamlaki Community Center budgets be received and forwarded to the mayor and council for approval. You really think you're gonna get through this today for that?
No, that's why it's here today and we have another meeting before we have to approve it.
Great.
Just to summarize it, I tried to keep the increased costs to an absolute minimum. You'd have to add substantially to the CCC budget to account for utility costs that have gone up over the years. And for obviously utility and insurance costs in the parks. Other than that, we've maintained everything as is and have maintained our level of spending. Due to the larger project with the Canton Park, we haven't proposed a lot in the way of capital works, but there is a list of capital works there for you to consider.
Anybody questions, or do you want to take it home and chew on it?
I have a question and then I want to take it home and chew on it.
And
First,
I'm mostly looking, not necessarily to have this approved today. I'm looking for suggested amendments. So when we have our next meeting, I can bring back something that you're ready to approve.
so just this tree planting and maintenance is 12.5.
Yes, ma'am.
Why is it so?
Much more?
Yeah.
Because the tree planning committee was a separate entity up until the
Right,
last
right.
election. It is now parts of Parks and Recreation. So there was $5,000 in that line item last year, not including what was spent by the
Oh, I
tree
see.
planning
So that's
committee.
why- Okay.
So
all
now
right,
we've
that makes
amalgamated
sense.
this $7,500 that the tree planning committee had with the money that the Parks Committee had into one.
Okay.
budget.
That explains it, Lucy.
And that allocation got moved to us as well.
Correct. So there,
Yeah.
when council sees the overall budget, there will not be a tree planting committee line because it's under parks.
So I have like slight difficulty with this and I've already discussed it with you. That it would be really a lot easier to look at this with actuals, even up-to-date actuals. For 2023, but I know there's so much more is gonna come for in the next couple of 3 months. So it doesn't make sense. So we're just gonna have to go by what your estimates are here anyway.
And we can provide actuals if the committee directs me to do so. We avoid providing those actuals because they're never quite up to date. There's a lot of allocations that are carried out at the end of the year, so it's not necessarily representative. But if you'd like to see what's there to date with the understanding that they are not necessarily accurate, the next budget can have those if you are telling me to bring them to you.
No, I just wanted to make that comment that it's
Yeah,
difficult.
it's hard to hear. Yes. I have a question on the general maintenance part of it. You've got insurance and then you've got liability insurance on two different lines.
Oh, you're on to CCC?
Yeah, right. That was the very first. Like we have separate liability insurance. That has not to do with the bar is what I'm,
It may.
why are we holding liability insurance on the bar that we don't?
I believe because we all, like. Where is that one? Can't look, there we are.
Right.
I would have to talk to Norma about that. I am uncertain why we have two separate lines. So.
Okay.
Um,
Also. Just a quick gander that our pool is losing 50,000 a year, so we may have to look at upping our rates again. And my other question was on the boat launch revenue, 7,500. So any idea what? Have we gotten any revenue on it this year?
as of the update I got, we had a couple $100s. So I used the numbers that were provided to council during the staff report that established the fees. Reduced them to the amount that council approved and then recalculated and put them in this budget. So I don't have enough current year evidence to make an educated guess other than the estimates I've already done.
Anyone else? Go ahead and spit them out.
I just have a question about just if there's a reason for it. So I know for the I'm looking under page 5 of 9, under general operations. So for maintenance, all parks, we've consistently under budgeted by more than double. So I'm just wondering if we're setting ourselves up for failure again, because we, like in 2021, we booked 22.5 and we were 73.5. In 2022, we budgeted 23,000 and we were 46.9. So I'm just wondering, like, are we under budgeting again at 25,000 and we're just gonna get? That's gonna be doubled anyways, and it's the same for the, where is it, new grass. I think grass cutting, it does the same thing year after year, so I'm just wondering if. We need to be more realistic with the budget, or if there's a reason why it was doubled for those 2 years.
Probably could use more money there. Some of that is also allocation issues. As you'll see, as you scroll down, there are some budgets that are over and there are some budgets that are under. So it's a matter of getting staff a little bit more used to providing detailed timesheets. It's been a discussion we've had in the Parks Department for a while to provide more detailed information. So our admin staff are not guessing where to allocate those hours to. That's why I haven't endeavored to radically change the numbers, because we're still attempting to get everyone to properly allocate their time. I would guess though, once that time is allocated correctly, though, we would probably need to look at an increase in those lines, but I chose not to make that radical change on this budget, given the timelines I'm working under.
Just because it's one of those things where it's better to just face it, you know, what we're, the budget for what we're actually gonna be facing.
I agree 100%, and as you can see, the budgets are getting better instead of worse, so I'm hoping that trend continues, but if that trend does not resolve itself for next, that'll be an item we have to look at next year for sure.
That's the only thing I had for now, and thank you for that.
On the pool, we've got Wyoming pool replacement reserve transfer, 15 grand.
Yes, sir.
Is that anywhere near enough?
No, sir. That
That's 15 grand a year, that's 150,000 in 10 years.
That is an amount suggested to work within a moderate increase. I am more than willing to put more in there, but the committee and then we'll be dealing with it.
Have there been any huge requests for Plum Park to be upgraded?
Not any huge increase, no, but that is, from the best of our knowledge, the oldest equipment in Plympton-Wyoming as a whole. It has one of those very old rainbow climbing units that I remember from when I was extremely young. And the swing set is also of that vintage. So it is the oldest and the least updated of our parks. So that's why staff continues to bring that back for an update. However, if the committee and the community feel that there's other parks that should be targeted, we're open to suggestions.
Do you have any funds left over? Fund, remember we said to this park out here, O'Brien, we try and get him a swing set.
We did not have sufficient funds in the budget this year. That being said, we can always add funds to the current year budget to add it or see if we do have some money left over.
And we're gonna have enough money in this budget to do that. Washroom at Canton Park, get rid of that piece of crap that's there.
The idea is not to get rid of that.
Huh?
The idea is just to provide an AODA washroom. The CC's, the
They can
Wyoming
use
minor,
that for storage.
Wyoming minor ball will continue to use that for a spare washroom and for storage and for their clubhouse. But that budget does include reworking the roof so that the doors can open fully. A new soffit and fascia and roofing on there. So that's why it's a little over $2,000 or sorry, $200,000, because we do plan to make repairs to that facility to make it last a bit longer. Sealing and painting is also being considered for that facility.
Does Wyoming minor ball know that?
We talked about it on site when we were meeting about the possible washroom
It'd
itself.
be very challenging to redo that building considering all the electrical.
And that was the biggest thing is we don't think we want to redo that building because it has all the electrical units and everything in it. So it'd be better to just repair it to a point that it's, sealed and can be used for storage. And then if the association wants to build a clubhouse or additional storage, that's something they can do with their volunteers and through other means. And we would just build a washroom that is owned and built by them.
And is there any reason why Hamlacky Ball can't use the washrooms at the community center? Especially on the weekends, if you can lock off the doors so that you have access to the washrooms.
The Optimus Group do have a user agreement on the facility. So, but there's no reason that the Optimus and the CAA cannot work together on larger events to provide those extra washrooms.
Well, that's what I mean, it's everything in it. Yeah, it's a little farther away, but it's better than a porta john. I'd run the extra 50 yards.
I would.
You worked in construction.
Yeah, I know.
I have another question.
Yes, sir.
Have we looked at the Jay's Care Foundation grant before? I think it would be nice if we can, granted the grant closed, the first initial application is October 31st. I just looked it up. But I know Forrest got a grant 2 years ago. I don't know if it can be applied to AODA type like washing facilities, but even if we can get an application in for Kamalaki to replace those fences, that's definitely covered. I just think it would be a nice gesture to at least try to get some funding for immediate projects like the fence repair. So if you want to look at it, so it's the Jay's Care Foundation, and then they announce it in December who got the money. Field of Dreams.
So right now, I think the fencing at Lakeshore Park, which was brought up, is just a repair. It's not a full out replacement, so I don't know if that would be covered.
You can even just like things from bleachers, fences, like anything baseball field related seem to be get funded. It'd just be nice to find some money if it's available and invest in some of their parks. And there's something like
We've been looking at the LED lighting. We did not include it in this budget as we replaced the lighting at both parks just after I arrived here. But it's definitely something that's in our long-term plan is to put LED lighting. We're concentrating on AODA washrooms. We've heard associations loud and clear that they want better washroom facilities. So that's where we're concentrating our capital funds for both the facilities.
and I don't know, washrooms might be included or not. I don't know about that grant. It just says baseball facilities.
Staff and I will
I
review
like
that.
I like free money.
All right, so. What do you need to do with your motion? Just accept it?
No, if you accept it, you're approving it as,
I would say we defer it until next meeting so we get a better look at it and. Don't be afraid to spend money because. I think we're underfunded.
that is important for me to know. Does this group want to see a bit higher increase than the 4 and change that I'm producing now? And add a few key capital projects and some higher operations?
You've taken on how many more parks since I've been here?
A lot, and we've increased the budgets for them, but
But not significantly.
no.
Well, what else do we
We
offer?
got the pool, well, we got the pool that we know we're gonna replace.
Yeah.
Very soon.
Yeah.
That couple of mil.
There's a few minor projects of between the $10,000 and $20,000 mark that Al and I did not include in this budget. We're gonna try to slide them into under maintenance. But maybe not putting those in maintenance will help that line, and making them into a capital project would be a better idea.
Where is our pool reserve fund at? Like, is it healthy right now?
We only started about 3 years ago.
3 years ago? I thought it was.
It's got
the
like
beginning of last year.
50,000.
It's not very high right now.
My opinion of the budget too is just, I'd rather be realistic. Than come in under and come in over at the end of it all. That's, so if it costs more money than what we're budgeting for, then we just need to be realistic. Cause better to go into it knowing how much it costs than
No,
find out
absolutely.
later.
And if we're going to use Kamalaki Community Center washrooms allow them to use it for ball tournaments. They have to clean up. The CAA has to clean up after them. The Optimist can't be expected to clean up
Absolutely.
all the bathrooms after ball players.
I would suggest trying, if that may be something they should organize between the two of them.
Oh, I think they should be told how to organize it. Because really, but like in their agreement. in the
If you
CAA
organize it between the two of them, they may find some kind of happy in between, but if we force it on them, there might not be a happy in between,
Oh,
so.
we just spent how many? What? $500,000 out there.
How about I have a discussion with both parties to see what can be done?
Yes.
We'll start with that, because that's not a budget item, that's nothing we have to spend money on.
The Tuesday night
I
thing.
will have a,
True, okay.
I will have a conversation with the Optimist and the CAA to say, the way you two can work together a little bit better here, because I know there's been discussions about the CAA using it after their banquets and not cleaning up. So maybe get them, all of them to the table.
They're
Have a little
gonna-
discussion.
Both are gonna need each other if this other thing goes through.
Mhm.
Right, so. Sir, anyway, all right. So we're gonna defer that.
So deferring it, and I am going to adjust some of the maintenance lines to be somewhat more realistic, not necessarily the full way, because we're still trying to figure things out. And I am going to add a little bit more in the capital budget to target some work that needs to be done in the near future.
You know what needs to be done.
And when you quote parks, you're gonna put a swing up. Said
And
that.
we will add $5,000 to the 35,000 to ensure that a swing set goes in on those, or at least.
Ed O'Brien? You mean?
Well, just any of them, any that we put in from now on, make sure they include a swing.
Oh.
'Cause that's about the one thing everybody's bitching that.
And honestly, we probably actually don't
They
need
have them
to
that-
necessarily increase it, but you'll just get less playground equipment if you get a park, right? So if our RFPs just can say must include at least 2 swings.
Okay, so that's been deferred, yes? Do I vote on that or just,
I do believe you need to vote on the deferral, sir.
can I get a mo on the deferral? Pass, there we go, thank you.
That was by Alex, seconded by Mike.
Oh, I read that off at the start, yeah.
I don't know, I just.
Mike and Alex. Do we need to go through the committee reports, since there's only a few of us here?
I have,
Nettie, you got anything?
I do have a question,
Yeah, go ahead.
like Highland Glen, it's a beautiful wooden dock that's been built on that, launch boat.
Spit it out.
Okay, yeah, I'm trying. And, is that gonna stay there through the whole winter?
No, we're
Oh,
lifting it
okay.
out.
So it gets lifted out?
Yes,
Good, because then it won't be all,
destroyed.
yes. And you know what, the rest is fine. And they're going to make sure they're out before November the 1st, correct?
Stairs will be leaving shortly.
Yes.
Because we don't want to risk them getting
Yes.
left behind. And then I imagine the dock will be
The
shortly
dock will too,
thereafter.
right? Yes, thank you. Okay, so we don't need to replace the whole thing again. Just had to throw that in.
You guys got anything on your perks?
Everything's good.
The trail?
I got it.
What else we got?
What else can we do to make Mike?
Oh, I gotta go into Cambridge.
More late? What do you got?
Think of some more stuff?
Throw in session, closed session. All right. We have no bylaws to do. Any correspondence requiring action? No correspondence recommended reading. Anybody got anything under new business before we go into closed? Good. And I have a motion here by Alex Bojan, seconded by Nettie McEwen, that the council move into an in-camera meeting, council pursuant to sections 239 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended for the following reasons. Item A, employee matters, section 239 to